Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about how to test your images that show up via and on Google or Google search by means of your Google shopping campaigns or PMAX campaigns where you're doing shopping campaigns through PMAX and optimizing those images. You get 2 or 3 times as much profit from the same shopping campaign resources that Google ads provide you or PMAX ads provide you, just by doing this little trick, if you will, testing your images on Google search and doing it in such a way that isn't going to mess with the rest of what you're doing, which is the main reason why I'm bringing this up, because in order to test new images on Google search that'll show up for your shopping campaign or PMAX campaigns, for most people, or by default, what you're going to think is you're going to have to change the images on your product pages on your site, which you don't want to do many times. Or we'll just say sometimes it's okay, but most of the time, what images are going to work good on Google search to get you a high click-through rate, which higher the click-through rate on your shopping ad or image ad, the more profit your campaign's going to make. Whereas using that perfectly optimized image that gets a great click-through rate from Google on your product page, on your actual where you're taking people to, that product page you're taking people to, if you were to use that same image that you're using to get the high click-through rate on Google Shopping on your product page or on your site there, you lose a lot of credibility, because the same stuff that catches the eye on Google search isn't the same stuff that people want to see on your website that from a credible organization that they would want to do business with. So there's a way to have 2 different images, one just for Google Shopping or PMAX that shows up basically on Google for the shopping ad, and one for your site. And with that, you could test at your heart's content, or to your heart's content, that shopping image ad until you get absolute maximum click-through rates on all your products that way. Get your 2 to 3 times, or I've even seen higher than this, upwards of 5x plus profits by finding that image ad that's going to work with the right features. And generally speaking, it'll be one certain thing that kind of works for all of your products, so you don't have to test each product's image ad. You can figure out that having your products not on a white background, but putting them on a lifestyle background where, basically the person's, you got active background, basically. The product sitting on a table or something like that versus a white background. You'll find once that works for one product, it works for them all. And then once you find that one, you test that one product like that, you apply it to all your other products, bang, you got right away double the profits from your campaign. Just that one simple little thing. But respectively, everybody should be doing this. They shouldn't be doing, whatever's on my site should be what's on my shopping ad, because the two rarely are going to get, whatever you use on your product page isn't going to get you the maximum click-through rates on your campaigns, which leads to the highest profit you're going to get from your campaigns. You're going to be able to, and need to put things on there, which Google even doesn't allow it, but you can get away with it. Overlays on the images. If a product vibrates, for instance, showing little action, I don't know what you call it, showing the product vibrates around the product to catch the user's eye. Arrows, which you can do. You can get away with that sometimes. So don't, and look at other markets, by the way, to see what other people are doing, because that's the type of stuff that's going to give you your idea to get the maximum results in your market, even though other people are doing it. That's the stuff you specifically want to do, the stuff that nobody else is doing in your market, because that's going to get the attention from the user at the highest rate possible. I've got a video on this channel, by the way, just about testing your image ads on shopping, and there's 5-10 different, categorically different things you can do to find the maximum click-through rates on your ads. You can have drop shadows, not drop shadows. You could test rotating the product slightly. A lot of this can be just simply done in Photoshop. You don't have to go and take new product images. So ultimately, what you want to though be able to do is put yourself in a position to test everything you want and not have to adjust or mess with your website. And with that, you'll be able to get your extra 2, 3, 4, whatever plus increase in profits from your campaign than what you were getting before. And because you have an image that is optimized for Google search and what people will catch their eye and what they'll want to click on, and generally be different than everybody else, which is why it gets clicked on at a high click-through rate. And so, anyway, with all that said, there's some basically considerations that you have to think about as you execute this to not have other drawbacks, known drawbacks to doing this, affecting you basically. And so I'm going to go through that on this video, how you specifically get around all the drawbacks, and so you get all the benefits with basically none of the drawbacks. And so with that said, I'll get into the content. So I have mentioned before how important it was, like I said, to test different images on your shopping campaigns. There's whole videos about that on this channel, to double, triple, or more the amount of profits you're going to get from a PMAX or shopping campaign doing that. But here's the big but now. At first, there's only one way to do this, which is there's only one way to do this, generally speaking, when you're starting out and you don't have all this prerequisite knowledge that I'm giving you here, which is to use a manual product feed. There's two major ways to do a product feed, taking your products from your site to Google Merchant Center, which through Google Merchant Center, obviously the products go to Google Ads, okay? That's using an automated or automatic product feed, which automatically moves the products using a script or plugin or app of some type from the site to Google. Or a manual product feed where you simply build like a spreadsheet of all the products that you have on your site and then give them to Google through that spreadsheet. That would be a manual product feed. And so with that said, if you are using the manual product feed, you could test different images on Google than what you're using on your product site, because naturally you just have to put a different image on that product feed than what's on your site and you're already done. But what if you have thousands of product SKUs and ultimately things change a lot on your site from those thousands of SKUs? The more product SKUs you have, the more of a maintenance job it is to manually go in and adjust your product feed when something changes on your site. If you have 10 products and you change your prices, for instance, it takes 5 minutes, potentially 5 minutes, just to go into your manual product feed that you gave Google earlier, adjust or update all the prices, and then you're in good shape. But if you have thousands, much harder. Or you could be in a position where, or tied to that, what if your stock or inventory status changes a lot on your site? Certain items go in and out of stock a lot. Or, and this obviously multiplies with the more products you have. If you have thousands of products, certain items are bound to go out of stock. Or if you're in a business where stuff goes out of stock, we'll say, then you have a lot more to manage on that manual feed. It becomes a bigger and bigger job to manage that manual feed. This is why people use an automated feed in the first place. If something goes out of stock, Google gets notified of it automatically and you don't have to worry about it. What if your prices change frequently, like I was touching on earlier? If your prices, got deep inflation right now, your products probably need to change prices every year, or if not 2 or 3 times a year now. So with that said, every single time you're going to change prices, you're going to go ahead and manually update your product feed. Not a huge consideration, but again, the more products you have, the worse and the more time consuming it is to do that ultimately. So it's something to think about if you were to do shopping or PMAX campaigns for the first time for an e-commerce business. Do you want to be able, it's easier, or for somebody not technically competent, we'll say, or without in-house IT support staff, to just do a manual product feed because it's easy to understand. It's just a spreadsheet. You put your product info in there, and then you upload it to Google and you're done. And now these automated feeds, it's now involving, moving parts, and if you're using Shopify or a mainstream shopping cart, you can use these product feed plugins and it makes it easier. You don't have to be a programmer to be able to do it, but still it's more complicated than just having the manual product feed. That for the most part, if you just have 10 items, I don't recommend using a product feed because that manual product feed will never ever break. As soon as you start incorporating scripts or software into your business, that's a failure point. People don't think about this when they start using software. There's going to be a cost to maintain software, whether it's a small or large cost, it depends on the software. And then with that, it can fail. So how often are you going to go test to make sure your software doesn't fail? So the more software you have, the more potential failure points you have. That manual feed, once you get it to Google, it's not going to fail. Google's not going to screw up on their side. You give them that spreadsheet, you're done. It'll be there 10 years from now working exactly the way that it was, and you'll know that now. That 10 years from now, it'll be fine. Automated. Once you start getting into automated product feeds and using plugins for that and so forth, and scripts, particularly custom scripts, the chances that something gets screwed up along the way goes up. And it's not just the cost of maintaining it in terms of the IT staff, but if your script screws up and your campaigns get screwed up even for one day, that could cost you, a couple $1,000s. So anyway, but even though it's easier to do the manual feed, you may be stuck using the automated product feeds because your products just change too often, the prices update too often, your stock or inventory status on certain items change too often, you got too many items, you have to use the automated product feed. Most bigger companies that have a lot of SKUs are going to be using automated product feed still, even though it can potentially break. It's just a necessary evil. Now, normally these dynamic product feeds that'll automatically update Google with the status of all the items in your store, whether it's a software or whatever you're using, app, plugin, will be the only way to automatically update Google about your products when they change status of some type. But with that automated product feed, like I was saying, or using automated feed, if you start doing that, what those automated feeds do is they automatically take all the products on your site and give them to Google as is. It doesn't do anything else besides that, at least the smaller base level options that most people that are starting out in business or not huge businesses already know about. So, and which most people are going to use is a plugin, a product shopping feed plugin for their Shopify or Equid site or whatever shopping cart they have, which takes all the products on their site, sends them to Google Merchant Center, which then sends them on to Google Ads. Or basically that's the deal. So, and then with that plugin, it's not very intelligent. All it'll be able to do is take all the status of all the products on your site, the images, the descriptions, everything, send it on. So going back to what we were talking about before, what if you want to test your product image and get this extra 2 or 3x profit you can get by optimizing the product image so it really gets the highest click-through rates on your campaigns? So you get that extra premium profit on what shopping can do, given shopping's typically the most profitable campaign you're going to have in an e-commerce business. That's true 80-90% of the time for the few dozen clients that we have at any given time with that. And the reason why, by the way, your campaigns, they're most profitable is because you see what you get before you click on the ad. So all your traffic's pre-qualified. If you optimize the image is the number one thing that dictates whether or not someone clicks on your ad. That's why you want to test the image. And by getting higher click-through rate on the image, you're getting not only just more people to click through your ad, so if your campaign was profitable, now you get twice as many clicks or twice as profitable. But not only that, you're going to make more money because Google is going to see now, oh, your products get higher click-through rates than everybody else's products, so I'm going to start showing you more. You're going to get a higher percentage of search impression share on top of it. And you're going to get charged a little less per click because Google's going to reward you on top of that, similar to how search ads work. So you actually earn 3 different ways here by just doing the optimization of the image. That's why you can see 3, 4, 5x increases in profit from just optimizing that image. So if you want to optimize the image, but you're stuck using the automated feed because your products update too often, there's a way around doing that so you can have all the benefits of the automated feed still, so it all runs automatically for you, even though you have to potential failure points like I was talking about in your business now, but it automatically takes all the products and the status of your products every single day, sends them to Google, so you don't have to do nothing once it's set up. You could have that, and you could test your images and have a different image that's what's on the product page using these solutions here. So since most of you guys use Shopify nowadays, which I, by the way, recommend Shopify over other shopping cart solutions, unless you have enough money to afford to build yourself a custom shopping cart, or should I say use a open source shopping cart solution like, I'm trying to think of the name of it again now. I can't believe I can't remember this right now. Well, can't think, it's on the tip of my tongue here. Basically, most of our clients are just using Shopify. Once you get to be doing like 50 million plus, from there, basically you want to start using open source solutions for that or with that, because there's no limitations on how far you can customize your site. The limitations with using Shopify, to go off on a small tangent here, is because, for instance, on the shopping cart, they don't let you customize your shopping cart. So we know through testing and having non-Shopify sites where we could put a padlock, what are called like a trust symbol or trust symbols, and we put a guarantee or 30-day money-back guarantee on the checkout pages on the shopping cart, we'll get more people to buy per visit to the site. But on Shopify, they don't let you do that because they're trying to make their platform so universal so that when they do an update, it doesn't break everybody else's site that's using the software. Whereas if you're using a customized software, you can customize the software to the shopping cart software you're using or shopping cart that you're using to your heart's content. And you could get all those small gains in conversion rate you're going to get by having everything exactly the way that it should be for your market, not just what Shopify thinks it should do for everybody, to make Shopify's life easier. But if you're not doing 50 million a year, I recommend just sticking with Shopify, because most of you guys can't afford to maintain a custom website because you need an internal IT person, a full-time IT person, webmaster person who does nothing but just work on the site constantly in terms of programming, who's knowledgeable, and it'll probably be $100K to $150K a year. And so obviously you're not going to be able to afford that until you're bigger. So smaller people, you take the hit on conversion rate, but using Shopify, but you get reliability, and you don't need the IT person. You can call into support and they'll fix any issues you have. With Shopify though, to get back to the topic at hand, if you want to use an automated product feed solution that automatically pipes into Google all your products and the status on all your products every day in real time, and you want to have a different image for Google Shopping so that you get the most click-through rate and the most profit from shopping, what you can use is a program called Channable. Channable is what the name of the software is. It's a Norwegian company. With that software, it's also still a app/plugin. So you could use a product feed plugin, which is like $100 basically to buy that one-time fee, or you can go with this Channable, which is $125 a month. But with this product feed plugin itself, it is going to allow you to have a custom image that you send to Google that's different from what is on your site, and they'll forward on everything that's on your site in real time, so that if anything on your site changes, Google gets that information. And though it's not just going to forward on the product image as is with no ability to override that, you can override the product image you send to Google through this Channable software. And once you've selected a new image for Google Shopping specifically, it'll only send that customized image that you have for shopping to Google for that product, and won't send on the default image that's on your product page itself. So you get the extra 2 to 5x in profit by having by testing and customizing the image for Google Shopping. Use this Channable plugin, and then it's something called a custom image variant override that you use on each product. That's going to allow you to have a custom image for Google Shopping that's different than what's on your site by default. Okay? So for $125 a month, this software will assure you don't have to have some crazy custom solution, because technically you could actually do this with some custom scripting. And for you smaller companies out there that don't have an internal IT person full time, I don't recommend going that route, because The problem is if you have a software person build you a script, like a freelancer, if you're like going to Upwork or something like that, they'll build the software and they'll probably do a half shitty job at it because anybody that's good at coding already has a job. Sorry, that's kind of the way that it is. There's good people you can hire, hired guns that are freelancers, but and eventually you're gonna have a problem with it, and you're not gonna be able to find that person again. And then the new person you hire ain't gonna understand how that code works inside and out, and you're gonna have problems. If you have an internal person who builds a script, and you know that same person can service the script later on, a year later, when you need to modify or update it or check it or fix it, then it's okay. So with that, the $125 a month, you have a software that the software company that runs the channel will update the plugin to make sure it always is compatible with Shopify, even if Shopify updates. Because that's the thing. When you build software for software that's changing, if you're going to build something that, you know, for instance, you have a CRM system like Salesforce. You build something that's supposed to send data to Salesforce. When Salesforce updates, whatever you built to send data to Salesforce is going to have to change too. So then all of a sudden Salesforce changes, your thing breaks, data doesn't go into what you built, doesn't send data to Salesforce anymore. Then you've got to update that. So these are all things that I found out through business the hard way. And so if you don't have internal resources, don't mess with that stuff. Pay the $125 a month to have the ability to have a custom image override to show on Google than what's on your site by default, and get the 2 to 5x extra profit you're going to get from shopping by doing this. So obviously, for most of you guys, $125 a month is a joke. You're going to be making another 10 grand in profit a month. So it's ridiculously not an issue. So, but that's for Shopify, the one that you specifically would want to use. That's going to be easy to use and reliable. For other shopping carts, if you're using anything else, technically there's a whole industry related to these. You want to call it middleware? It's what it is. There's these middlewares that take products from your e-commerce site, sends them to this middleware, which is basically what this channel is, by the way. And in that middleware, it allows you to configure things before it gets sent on to Google, Facebook, Amazon. It'll let you send a modified version for what's on your site to these sites. So you don't have to just have what's on your site by default sent to these other sites. And it lets you send different versions of it to different places. So it's called PIM software or Product Information Management software. The only problem with these softwares is they're kind of expensive. Really expensive, depending on where you're at. $450 a month is about the typical average price for one of these softwares to use it. So if you're only doing $1 million a year in sales, this might just be outside of your budget range. So, which is an alternative for doing this. But if you've got the bucks, you're already doing several million a year in sales, you may just want to go with the easy, point and click software that has the nice GUI interface that you log in and it's easy and they have support. And when you say, I want to create a new image that Google will get that's not the default image of my site, you just got to get a hold of the support and they'll walk you through it step by step. And so PIM software is the software that you need to do that. The one I would recommend by default, because there's a bunch out there, is Channel Advisor. Is the name of the PIM software that I would want to use on my own site if I were doing it. And that one's $450 a month. There's other ones, but they're all pretty expensive, okay? And they could price it as such, because the typical companies that's going to use this are doing $5 million plus in e-commerce sales a year. This isn't something that some hobbyist gets into. But like I said before, it's better than custom scripting, which you technically could use custom scripting to create a script that'll allow you to send data to Google Merchant Center that you have to maintain, that was totally custom, but it's gonna fucking break at some point. And when your campaigns are going good, you don't want something to break and you're gonna have to maintain it. And without knowing how to hire programmers and check their scripting, it's just a mess. You're probably just going to want to go with the software that gets maintained by the software company and will make sure it will never break the connection between that software and Google, because they actively know when Google updates, they have a whole team of people just to update the software so that nothing ever breaks and it's all done in the background for you. versus your custom software, you're going to have to constantly maintain that probably. So anyway, you could do PIM software. Channel Advisor would be the one I would recommend by default that I know of. If you don't have the $450 a month, you're not using Shopify, or you still don't want to just pay this $125 a month for Shopify, if you're using Shopify for Channable, which is, again, it's really, for me, you just pay you'll appreciate that you went the $125 a month route because it does other stuff, and it's going to be very easy for you to understand and manage, and you have support behind it. But if you don't want to pay anything, you could just, like I said, you could use a manual feed, but you're losing the ability to have all your products updates go to Google. So if you have to have the automated, updates from about your products going to Google, and you want to test your images, you can use something called a supplemental feed override. So in Google Merchant Center, a lot of people don't know this, there's two types of product feeds. There's primary product feeds, there's secondary product feeds. Primary product feed is basically kind of what it sounds like when you send your product feed to Amazon. Google Merchant Center, that's the default place it goes. But you can also use these so-called supplemental product feeds, which allows you to override what's on the product feed itself. So you could have a secondary product feed which has the new updated product images on it. And the way that Google ultimately sees this or does this, which you could actually, the firing order, you can change this as well through Google Merchant Center about which, does it look at the primary feed and then this secondary feed, to where they will update it after if you have more than one supplementary feed already. But ultimately, what you do is you create another product feed, which in the secondary product feed, you have all the item IDs from the first product feed that's on there, and then a new image that's going to be an updated image that you want your primary product feed to be updated. So ultimately, if you have a automated product feed or automated feed plugin on your site that takes all the products from your site, sends them to Google Merchant Center automatically once a day. Okay, but that primary product feed that you have that from that plugin that sends all the product data to Google Merchant Center, it has the product's images from your site by default. You still want to have a unique image for each product that's optimized for Google Shopping click-through rate. So the secondary product feed, which has all the same number of products that your primary product feed has the product, and it has one column with the column ID, with the product ID, and then a second column with the product image. So basically, what Google's going to do is they're going to look at the primary product feed, but it's going to override the image link from the primary product feed with the secondary product feed itself, so that it ignores basically the product image for each item on the primary product feed and instead uses the product image from the secondary product feed. So you're saying, Corey, well, why the hell didn't you just tell me about that first before you told me about these softwares? These softwares provide a point-and-click interface, whereas if you're going to use a secondary product feed, you're going to have to root through a big spreadsheet, and then when you are doing your testing, you're going to have to figure out the exact product you want to test and then update the image, it's going to be a little bit more of a hassle. If you're really, low on cash, so to say, the supplemental product feed and then using the product image override there through the secondary supplemental feed is just fine. So you can decide what you want to use. So you now have the options to do whatever you want. So technically, there's three options. You could use a custom script to import all that will take your products from your site and then send them on to Google Merchant Center, but with whatever custom image you want to show on Google Shopping, but not what is not shown on your site right now, which that in itself is way too advanced and way too complicated for 99% of you guys plus. Or you can use one of these PIM softwares, Channable for Shopify or Channel Advisor for other carts or another PIM software, or you can just use a supplemental feed on Google Merchant Center with a updated or new product image on it that will override the product image on the primary shopping feed. So with all that said, that's pretty much how you get to where all of the products on your site will get sent to Google Merchant Center and then onto your Google Shopping campaigns. And when you make changes to your products on your site, it automatically gets updated to Google in real time. And you can still have whatever image you want to show up on Google search for each item that you want, giving you the extra profit by having an optimized shopping image ad versus just the default product image on your site. And get that extra 2, 3, 4, 5 plus increase in profit that you would get having the shopping image, the image that shows up on shopping, to be optimized versus the default image on for each product from your site itself that's showing up default on your site. So that's specifically how you get around the drawback of having to use the manual feed to have a unique image that you choose to show up on Google Shopping, but not being able to automatically have product inventory status being automatically also updated to Google, as well as price changes and so forth. So I can't stress enough how much you should test your Google Shopping ad, how much of a difference it's going to make finding the appropriate style of image that works for your market. And I've got a video that just is dedicated to testing that shopping image ad. You can search for it on my channel using the search bar on my channel homepage. Basically, you're going to find there's going to be something in there out of the 5 or 10 items that I gave you to test that's going to work extremely, really, really well. And the key to it all is as you know, in the shopping ads, there's usually it's at the top of Google, like right underneath the search bar before the rest of anything shows up, or on the side. There's 8 products there. Whatever you see on the products that everybody else is doing, if you do something else, and something else is something that actually works better than everybody else, and nobody else is using it, you're going to get the 2, 3, 4, 5x increase in profit. You just have to be able to do it. And some people, I should say most of our clients, never actually allow us to do this because, basically they don't want to, mess with, anything, so to say. It's tough because when you're relying on a bunch of profit coming in from your shopping campaigns, when you change your images, anytime you test anything with Google ads, your profit's going to dip a little bit. And so there is a short-term drawback to switching your image, even though your image is better, because the algorithm's not going to know how to handle your new images. So for that, a lot of times we can't test it because we can't afford a dip in profit short-term. Or the things that will work, like having a lifestyle background versus a plain white background, we need a photographer for. Because if you just Photoshop your product on like sit and make it look like it was sitting on a table, no matter how good of a Photoshop artist you are, it's not going to look real. Whereas what looks great is when you actually set it on a lifestyle background. You actually set it on the picnic table. We can't do it, so to say. And then the final reason why we don't, of course, do it a lot is it is a lot of actual work. If you have 1,000 items and you got to actually go through and edit each image, this is something that's going to take a graphics designer several days to do 1,000 items. You're talking, graphic artist's time. That might be $5,000 or $10,000 worth of labor to get that all done from an agency or whatnot. Or if you have an internal person, obviously cheaper, but they don't want to put the upfront cost to do it. Even though you tell them what the profit is going to be on the back end, they don't want to do it. And this is something that usually gets outside the reins of what we do. We tell our clients, hey, if you make your product and you start to allow us to test these different ways of showing the product, you're going to gain. But we're not going to design all your product images for you. We'll put the test together, but we won't design all the images for you. We'll just tell you what to do. And people just don't, it's too much it's not an easy thing for them, so they just skip it, basically. It's unfortunately. So if you, though, are the person who will do it in your market, you'll clean up, because the average person, even though I tell them this, or they even thought about it, because it's obviously something everybody's thought about if they run an e-commerce business, given their shopping campaigns usually make up such a high percentage of their sales, that you're going to end up with all the profits. That's why you could get such a jump in profitability from your shopping campaign or PMAX campaign doing this, because nobody else is willing to do it. Anything else that allows the user a better user experience that most people aren't going to be willing to do means big time profits. All we've done at our agency is just understand that. What works? What are people not willing to do? Okay, you bring those two together, we get guaranteed results every time when we use those strategies. And then we could go to a client and say, hey, we'll increase your sales by 50%, but after that we want X, Y, and Z. And know that we can get it because we know what people are willing and not willing to do with their ads. Of course, a lot of it you can just see if they're doing it, but in general, you do it, nobody else is going to follow suit because it's too much of a pain in the ass to do. Or it's not common knowledge. People think that unless everybody else is saying to do it, you shouldn't do it, which the best stuff you can do is stuff people aren't talking about. The stuff that you're going to hear on this channel. So anyway, I pretty much said what I was going to say about this. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, got a lot out of it. Hopefully you actually execute and use this information and earn the extra money in your market. So if you liked the video, consider giving it a like and consider subscribing, as I have a lot of other strategies to share with you on this channel about how to make money with Google ads, Facebook ads, and so forth, where you can make a lot of money with PPC doing the stuff that we're doing with our few dozen clients that we have and learning from us what works the best, as well as stuff that doesn't work, we let you know as well. Most of these channels, these people aren't running agencies. They're talking pretty much out their butts. And you're hearing from somebody who manages dozens of campaigns at any given time, and not just running my agency, but actually I'm the key strategist at the agency. Understand on an ongoing basis what works and what doesn't work real well. So you're not going to find as good of information elsewhere if you don't subscribe. Apart from that, if you have any questions about anything I covered today, you can leave me a comment below, or in general have comments about PPC. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. I also, by the way, have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step information on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I build them for our clients here to guarantee the results. So if you want to basically learn on a more individualized basis that I don't go into on this channel for lack of time, and just have a different style of doing things on this channel. If you want to know, step by step, have more of a step-by-step guide how to do campaigns like we do them here, you can find supplementary information on my blog. It's just as good as what you'll find on this channel as far as how to make money with PPC. As a final note before I let you go, I just want to mention that I also have a brand new program that I started at our PPC agency where we offer turnkey PPC campaigns. If we've gotten results in your market, instead of having to hire us or a PPC agency, you can just simply take the templated results that we have for that market for a certain minimum one-time price, take them, use them on your campaign, and probably get most of the results that we're going to get in a different geographic market that you're going to get in your geographic market. So a lot of this obviously applies for local business, given that if we have or a plumber that's getting 10 million a year in sales off of Google search ads in Seattle, and you're in Miami and you want to do the same thing for your plumbing business in Miami, you can take our campaign templates, copy them and paste them into your account, get the same results in your account. For national companies, it's less, but we still have a lot of campaign templates, given that we don't work with clients forever and ever. People assume that you either do it work with clients forever, or something you screwed up. And in this business, the average time a company works with an agency is a couple of years, and eventually there's no reason why we can't work with the company in the space again. And with that, barring sharing hidden information about that market, you can understand and get the basic stuff that worked in that market and step into that market with it. So after a reasonable amount of time has passed or whatnot, or we have results in one country, you're selling a product that anybody can get sourced from China, you want to open up a similar shop in your country, the campaign templates that work to get results in one country will get the same results in another country. So anyway, if you're interested in you're basically seeing if we have results in your market, you can reach out to us. Or if you want to start a new business, this is a turnkey way to have a business that works right out the gate without having to learn about what works in that market or not. you literally, before even sourced any inventory, could get our campaigns, turn them on, see that they work, and then source your inventory. So anyway, some different things that we have there. We could tell you what markets we have results in, how much results we have in those markets, and then you could kind of know what you would want to start, or if we were in your market, how much we could help you from, starting where you're at. Let me know if you're interested in that type of thing, and we'll tell you what we got. But other than that, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. See you there.